Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, one of the incidents last year that really focused the public's attention on the excess use of police force was the shooting in the hills outside of Albuquerque of a homeless man who was camping out. Now, today we learned that Albuquerque cops who gunned that homeless camper down are facing murder charges. A New Mexico district attorney's office has filed murder charges against the Albuquerque police officers who gunned down the nonviolent camper last year. And this is interesting. The DA's office performed a rare but legal move, and bypassing the grand jury to indict the officers reportedly marks the first time that an Albuquerque police officer has been charged after shooting someone in the line of duty. That's something that a lot of people have been calling for, the fact that they would stop and bypass the grand jury convictions. That's a point of reform that people passed out on a flyer on New Year's Eve in New York City, calling for that along with a lot of other reforms, because we need to have an open process reviewing what happened when the police officers shoot down someone and there's a question as to whether or not there was a excessive use of force. That's a very positive development. There's also positive developments in New York City as well. We've reported in the past on how they have slowed down their workload, I guess, and you could call it that, in terms of giving people tickets for minor violations. That was down anywhere from 93 to 95%. Well, guess what? On New Year's Eve, it was down 100%. It went down to zero. The New York City police issued 0 low-level crime tickets to the 1 million revelers in Times Square on New Year's Eve. This is reported by the Daily Mail. They say that there were no tickets for having an open container of alcohol in Times Square on New Year's Eve. They say the slowdown in enforcement has also not translated to a rise in crime. Could it be that the New York Police Department is kind of understanding that they're being used as pawns? They're being used by a mayor, by a city council who tries to elevate themselves and take the high road. When things hit the fan, they throw the cops under the bus, even though the cops are doing what they asked them to do. Enforcing things that should not be a crime, going over the top in terms of the use of force and collecting those things, just as Eric Garner was choked to death for selling cigarettes without having the kind of taxes and licenses that they had decreed. I think they're tired of that, and I think they're starting to understand where that game is going. And of course, that's a game that is being played at the national level especially. That's where Obama and Eric Holder and the federal government are telling the police that they're operating in a war zone, that they need to take people out before they take them out. They're giving them military equipment and, of course, training from the Southern Poverty Law Center to identify who their enemies are. Then when something happens, something blows up, they take the high road, they distance themselves from these police officers that they put in this situation and leave them to take all the heat. Now, of course, it's costing the city $10 million a week. This is an article from the New York Post. They say there were 1,191 parking summonses handed out between December 29th and January the 4th. That was down 93%. And they say, although they're losing $10 to $11 million a week, that's small change compared to their $77 billion New York City budget. And if you work out that percentage, even if they were to take that for a year, he said that might start to really affect us. Even if you project it out over a year, though, that's still less than 0.5% of their budget total to not give people parking tickets, for example. And it's a lot of petty crimes like that is how the police are being used. Now, they're pushing back against the police at the same time. The city, as well as the upper-level officers, are threatening them, telling them they're not going to be allowed to take vacations and have leave until they start to make this up. This is a story from the New York Post. New York Police Department cops are told no vacations until the work slowdown ends. They say it is a slowdown showdown. And a quote from one union source said, police officers around the city are now threatened with transfers, with no vacation time or sick time unless they write summonses. They say this is the same practice that caused officers to be labeled as racist and abusers of power. Everyone here is under orders, no time off during the summons catch-up blitz. In other words, are they going to go out and try to double the numbers that they've had since they've cut them down by 93 to 100%? And they also point out the majority of new summonses, they said, written, are not protecting the public in any way. That is what the police and the police unions are saying. So I think that's a very positive sign. Not only is this not having any effect on crime, crime is dropping even though they're not writing these tickets. The police themselves are fed up being strong-armed tax collectors of the general public. They don't like the fact that they've been put out here, exposed, used as pawns, and so they're pushing back against their supervisors there. Now, it's still not certain whether they're going to continue to do that or whether they're going to return to their old ways. Nevertheless, the war on drugs is still with us, and this is still the heart of the corruption of law enforcement in America. Look at this article. Cops steal $18,000 from a man who broke no law because a drug dog alerted to the cache. This is a Tennessee man who had committed no crime. He was not even driving the car that was pulled over. He was a passenger in the car, and the car was pulled over, they say, because it changed lanes without using a blinker. They pull a police dog over and have him sniff the car. He doesn't find anything, but he alerts to the money. Now, pay attention to this. As we pointed out many times, and as this article points out, it is widely known that a large percentage, up to 90% of U.S. paper money, contains traces of cocaine. Having a large amount of cash will always alert a drug dog. In fact, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has ruled that government does not have probable cause to seize cash from motorers based only on drug detection dogs' reactions, stating specifically that the majority of money in circulation has drugs on it. And of course, no drugs were found in this particular case. And as this article points out, calling it road piracy, this is from DC Clothesline, they say it's gotten so bad that the Canadian government warns its travelers about traveling to the United States, warning them that American police officers will steal things from them, cash, cars, never charging them with a crime, doing it under this program they call civil asset forfeiture. It is nothing but road piracy. And they point out that in the last year, there's been 62,000 incidents of this, with $2.5 billion stolen from people on the street who have committed no crime for which they have no probable cause. Now stay with us. Right after the break, we've got a special report from Dan Bidandi. He confronts the new governor of Rhode Island. We'll be right back.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
Yeah, it has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.